Hey, welcome back to The Green Room, a cannabis podcast about things going on in the cannabis world in Ohio and Columbus from 614 Media. My name is Matt. I am here as the host today with our guests, the guys in the band Weed Demon.
Hi.
Hi.
You guys want to introduce yourselves real quick?
Go ahead.
Great. No, you please.
No, you. I insist.
I'm Jordan. I am the vocalist, bass player, and all-around manager, I guess. Resident merch guy as well of Weed Demon.
I'm Andy, the guitar player and music writer, I guess.
Principal songwriter.
Songwriter?
Please.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll go with that.
Right on. Awesome. We are going to chat with Weed Demon about what's going on with them in music, as well as just general stoner music culture vibes here in a couple of minutes. But before we do, a couple of quick news updates. If you missed it here in Ohio, back at the beginning of the month of August, recreational sales opened in dispensaries all over the state. I think
What the fuck, man?
No, what? Did you not hear it? Did you not know? I believe there's like 100 dispensaries in Ohio selling rec weed right now, and there's like 13 in Columbus. There's a whole list. I don't know if you guys are familiar with weedmaps.com.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
Absolutely. There we go.
I have it next to my Google Maps.
Yeah, it's it's like Google Maps, Weed Maps, Waze. Pretty much the navigation
Well, it's the
tab.
order you have to get there. You find it, you get there, and then use Waze to avoid the police when you're coming back.
So you can check Weed Maps if you are looking for what dispensaries around you here in Ohio are selling recreational marijuana. It is available now. Okay, over to you guys. I want to talk about Weed Demon. I want to talk about stoner music. I am stoked as hell that you guys are here. We were talking before we started recording, but I've got tickets to see you guys in September. I've listened to your music for a while. You guys beat me into the building today because I was listening to your album in the car.
Beat you behind the building.
That is a different thing
Oh,
that is
after.
also true,
Okay,
but that's okay.
After the podcast.
So tell me a little bit about the band. Introduce the band, maybe the genre, whatever you like, to folks who haven't heard of you guys before.
Sure, great. Happy to do it. So about a decade ago, Andy and I wanted to start a hardcore band. Didn't work out. Our drummer didn't want to play hardcore, and we said, well, cool, will you play stoner metal? And he's like, sure. And then subsequently quit the band anyways. But we had thought that Weed Demon at one point was, there's a lot of weed bands that have goofy names.
Yeah.
Maybe, Bong Ripper, Bongzilla, Electric Wizard,
Weed Eater.
Weed Eater, right. Various other weed and or wizard-based band names. So we figured, Weed Demon sounds good. It's got good alliteration. And then when we were like, we really need to come up with a name. We're like, we really didn't. When we were trying to think of like a not goof, like tongue-in-cheek name, we're like, no, fuck it. Weed Demon makes too much sense. It fits too well. So put out a couple EPs. Stoned to Death was our first one, and then we did Astrological Passages, Crater Maker, and then we have a new one that's at the label right now, getting finished up. So hopefully
Sick.
by the beginning of next year.
Big things coming
Big
soon.
things.
Big
Yeah.
things. Well, that's awesome. I'm stoked to hear that there are #big things coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Did you guys put out a Zappa cover this
Yeah.
year?
We did Willie the Pimp. We've been playing it live for a while and finally got it recorded and done well. And it's nice to put it out. People really seem to like it and didn't really expect us to pull off a Zappa cover, I guess. I don't know. Everyone's
It was
surprised, I guess.
Yeah.
It was the song itself, the original version is pretty much like a 8-9 minute jam.
Yeah.
And so we thought, well, that's pretty fitting for, the genre of music that we play. So yeah, let's just we did it live. Added vocals and solos over top of it, but yeah, it was just like one of those organic things where we just all kind of played it together and a couple takes, but it was great.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah, fun as hell to play live too.
Yeah, dude. I was definitely amongst the people who's like, a Zappa cover? Like, I did not expect Weed Demon to rip out a Zappa cover. But I want to back up. You said it fit well with the genre of music you play. And I kind of want to dig in on the genre of music you play. So talk to me about, like what is that genre? What is stoner metal? I think that it's your Spotify about bio that's like, what if you spilled bong water on a Ouija board? Which A+ writing. I don't know who put that down,
Thank you.
yeah, that's chef's
The
kiss.
biggest contribution to the band is just coming up with metaphors of what we sound like.
But yeah, man, tell me about stoner metal, and tell me about what led you to that genre.
Stoner metal, I think, is kind of there's a lot of branches in that family tree, right? I mean, it's from everything from like Caius, which is like stoner desert rock, the Queens of the Stone Age. It all kind of stems from like Black Sabbath at the top, and it just comes down into all these different subgenres that are really just fuzzy guitars, long, usually drawn out song structure, riffs that you can smoke weed to, and just kind of bang your head. Not a lot of moshing at most stoner metal shows, as you can probably imagine, right? Usually a lot of just stoned dudes with beards banging their heads.
There's this, somewhere in what you just said, there's a punchline about mosh pits and like grinders and like a mosh pit at a stoner metal concert just being like a bunch of dudes shaking their shoulders back and forth. And I don't know what that punchline is, but it's in there somewhere. Talk to me, for both of you guys, about influences for you in that genre, or growing up, what musical path you followed to find yourselves in stoner metal.
You write the riffs.
Yeah, definitely. I listened to a lot of Black Sabbath when I was growing up. Had it on the headphones all the time. My dad would be like, "Hey, I'm right here. We're talking." No, I'm listening to Black Sabbath.
Sorry, Dad. I'm listening to Sabbath.
I got older, and I started listening to bands like I Hate God, which is a little more sludgier and a little more hardcore edge of the stoner realm. And then it just seemed like in the 20 teens, a lot of stoner bands were kind of like resurging again. Like Sleep was reissuing Dope Smoker and
third wave stoner metal.
Yeah,
third wave stoner metal.
Yeah.
That I'm gonna chew on that one for a little while. Keep going. Yeah.
Write that down.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's the next album. Yeah.
Third wave stoner metal.
Stoner metal, right? So then it just seemed like there was a lot of bands coming out around the same time that, like, we started this band. Let's see, Sleep.
Sleep was having their set, like their renaissance.
Yeah.
Coming like people. I think what it is, first, like, and for me, and I think Andy also kind of shares it, is like when you're younger, you play more angry, aggressive, like punk, hardcore, thrash metal, fast as fuck, and angry.
Yeah.
And then at some point, when you're creeping up on 30, you're like, man, I'm just not mad anymore. Like, I'm just not as angry.
Yeah.
I like hanging out and smoking weed and playing riffs, and I feel like that is kind of like the transition into, like, yeah, man, like I don't want to be playing like 30-second songs out of breath, like in the middle, and I love a basement show, but at some point you're like, man, your tastes evolve and your palate changes, and I think inevitably everyone makes their way to stoner metal. Any like metal musician will eventually start a stoner band.
That's so apt. I saw this, I don't know if it was a TikTok or I saw it on Instagram, but I saw something that said punks age up and hit a fork in the road where you either go to stoner sludge or you go to bluegrass. And I would argue that I've gone to both, but like, I think that the horseshoe goes so far around that the two come back to being the same.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
I play banjo.
Hell yeah, you play banjo
in a cowpunk band. So I mean, I kind of split that fork, I think.
Stop the podcast. Give me your tight 30 on cowpunk?
Cowpunk, yeah. It's like punk rock and country or bluegrass kind of mixed together. So it's a little like high octane.
Like, are we talking like Reverend Horton Heat, Tiger Army type stuff?
It's like the fastest Reverend Horton Heat songs with a banjo.
Got it. Yeah, all right.
Great. That should be your description on Bandcamp.
Right.
Yeah. Sick. All right, cool. I love that.
Tell them the band name.
My other band's name is Rabbit Dog. We're also from Columbus and putting out new music pretty regularly. So
There you go.
All right, well, I know what I'm going to do this afternoon. That sounds sick as hell.
Shout out to our buddy Eric Greenbaum,
Oh,
who
yeah.
just put out your video, which looks fucking awesome.
yeah,
Outside of, again, your genre, what are some either songs, artists, maybe genres that have come on when you're smoking, or maybe you've been at a show and you've smoked up, that you've been like, this would not be what I would choose to listen to, but I'm into this right now. Like, I'm having a great time.
I got one. I was I go to a music festival every year called Muddy Roots. And,
Yeah.
a friend of mine had just come up to me with a joint and was like, hey, you want to hit this? And I'm like, yeah, that's normally about how it goes for me.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much a weed lightweight anyway, so I take 1 or 2 hits. And the band Fear.
Can you edit that out of the podcast?
Yeah, I don't want my dad to hear that I smoke weed. But this old punk band Fear was playing, and I'm smoking weed, and I was like, whoa, it's not what I would have expected to like when I'm high. And I was like, whoa, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And I was still really high after they played, and I was like checking out their shirts and stuff, and it's like a bunch of these old punk guys standing in the merch tent that are running these old punk guys merch tables and stuff. And I was like, if the shirt's affordable, I'll get it. And I asked the guy, I was like, how much is this shirt? Thinking if it's $20, I'd buy a shirt. And he's like, I already had my wallet out because I'm high. And
Yeah.
he's like, $30. And I was like, okay.
All right.
So I bought a shirt that I maybe didn't really want for $30 because I was too high, but it was fun to see Fear.
Yeah.
And I did not expect to enjoy that
Yeah.
while high.
I saw, like a month or so ago, I was in Milwaukee, and there's a place up there called the X-Ray Arcade, and I was with some buddies. I was at a Shriner convention, and we were up there, and I was with some dudes that are a little more, they're always down for whatever, but they're not as they're more normie in what they like are into.
Yeah.
And there's this band called Daikaiju,
Uh-huh.
which I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah, I am.
And I had I remember them from back in like the Care Bar days, and I was like, man, this band is, I remember it's fucking nuts. And
Yeah.
and I asked my friends to go, and we went, and it is still absolute chaos. Like it's like psych, surf punk, surf rock,
Yeah.
and then it just anarchy, right? I mean, they're passing their instruments out, they're lighting the drum set on fire. And I'm the whole time, my buddy was, gave me a gummy, and I'm just sitting there, and I was like, look over at my friend, who again is not used to, this is not a metal guy.
Yeah.
And I look over at him, he's like, this is the most amazing show I've ever been to. I was like, I know, isn't it fucking awesome? It's like a spiritual experience of watching them play, and like lifting the drummer up into the crowd, like while he's still playing drums. And they're like spraying lighter fluid all over the drums.
That's crazy, man.
It was awesome. I was truly like an awe-inspiring experience.
Yeah.
They actually caught the top of a van on fire at Muddy Roots, so
Hell yeah!
Wow.
Great.
That's nuts.
that was wild too.
Oh, you've also seen them?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
awesome.
I was actually trying to sleep, but I looked out my tent.
And
I saw,
there's
a
just,
van
like,
is on
There's a
fire.
man on fire. Like,
Cool.
Can't sleep now.
yeah, there's someone playing Dick Dale on top of a burning van with a mask on.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
This is
What
very
an apt description.
very Muddy Roots.
Okay, so I have one more like stoner music culture question, and I think this might be more for you as the songwriter guy,
All right.
or maybe you for the vocalist. I don't know. Wizards and dragons and shit,
Great start.
right? You talk about getting older and not wanting to necessarily be the angry punk that you were, and you get to a point where like you're writing songs about elder gods and wizards burning elder trees.
Right.
that feels so synonymous with stoner culture, and I don't really know why that is, but I feel like it is. And so I was wondering if you could expound on that, or maybe connect the lines for me between stoners and dragons and wizards and shit.
Boy, it's a $1 million question right here. I think a lot of like the nerdier, maybe stoner boys who play in this kind of music tend to play.
You mean everyone? You mean every?
Well, not me, but like the nerdy ones, you know?
Oh, right, yeah.
Oh,
Or the
okay.
cool guys.
Like to play like Dungeons and Dragons, and are the kind of people who probably read Lord of the Rings more than once and have the collector's books and stuff. So it's just real easy to be like, what is this song about? And it's like, oh, Gandalf, yeah.
Bongdolf.
Bongdolf.
Yeah.
Bongdolf.
It's actually pronounced Jandalf.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
So, did you see the video that we did for Elder Tree?
I haven't yet. I have it on my watch list.
So, do you understand? Like, do you know the premise is?
I do. I mean, I listened to the song.
Well, okay. So, but the video, why it's funny you asked this question is like, and also a thing we started before COVID and then took 2.5 years to get to. But it is the video starts out of us sitting at a table playing Dungeons and Dragons, hanging out, smoking weed, drinking beer, playing D&D, and then our drummer Nick spills the bong onto the game table, and we get sucked into the game. So I don't like the fact that you actually asked that question is fucking hilarious.
This is okay. So like every night I have this reoccurring dream where I'm playing D&D with my buddies, and I spill bong water on a D&D table, and I get sucked in. Like, this is everything I've ever wanted.
100%. That is the premise of the video, and it's all CGI of us. I'm sorry, this is a real basement. I wasn't pointing back here like it's. So it's us.
If this is a real basement, grab a book right now.
Grab a. Yes, Sense and Sensibility. So we're all dressed in like, I borrowed this guy that's a Weed Demon fan that's into LARPing. Like, he let me borrow his full garb, like his chainmail, and he had like a robe and a staff. Brian had like what did he have? Chainmail on his head, and like we were all decked out in like garb, and we were in front of a green screen, and it was. I mean, something that you only think up in your most stoned dream.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah, dude.
So yeah, spilling bong water on your D&D table will inevitably suck you into your game.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna write that down. Keep track of that.
There's not a lot. If you haven't, there's not like stoner rock, stoner metal is not like the cool guy genre. So you'll find that there are a lot of guys that are into like fantasy. Fucking aliens, wizards, Satan. Obviously, it's metal.
It's metal.
So yeah, I mean that's also like what. I mean, shit. Dio was writing songs about dragons in like the 70s.
Yeah, Dio, Rainbow, Sabbath. Like that's that. And even like Hawkwind was an early band that I was really into, which was another one of those like
Hobbit metal.
Yeah. So okay, well now I have to ask: Do you guys play D&D? Do you have a band campaign? Like,
I grew up playing D&D. I've only last time I played D&D, I think, was his bachelor party.
Yeah. I played D&D during COVID, like right at the beginning, with online with a bunch of people in Europe, actually.
Sick.
It'd be like nighttime for them, and it was the middle of the day for me, which worked out better because I was working nights.
Yeah.
So that was cool. But
Rad.
that group's kind of finally dissipated. Everyone stopped talking. And
Yeah,
I would say that we are, casual. Like
casuals.
Casual, yeah. Right. I mean, would I get really high and put on a bunch of chainmail and go like run through a field? Absolutely. But I don't have a lot of free time.
Yeah, I get that.
So, I'll just write lyrics about doing it.
Yeah. Live vicariously through the music.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The
great.
That what space
Space?
weed. mythical monsters,
Motorcycles.
motorcycle. Hell yeah,
brother.
hell yeah, Porter. You know, like there's only a finite. I don't want to sing about being depressed
No,
and
it's
shit.
not fun.
I don't need to, you know. And again, I'm not angry anymore. So, you know, wizards are fine.
Wizards are fine.
Wizards are fine.
That's
Right.
the name of the episode. Episode 2, Wizards are fine.
Hashtag wizards are fine.
All right. I want to round out today and get a couple of stories out of you guys. This is sort of the end of all the podcasts. We try and bring out a story or two that starts, like we said, with, well, I got too high. And so I would love to hear maybe a story from both of you, a story from one of you, either way. I understand Comfest might be involved in one of these stories. Tell me about it.
Okay. So I have two.
Okay.
I have one about me getting violently stoned. And then we have the Comfest story. I'll start with one, and then if you want to think of your
Sure, yeah.
we'll save the Comfest one for last.
Yeah,
but,
we'll do a little sandwich action.
but oddly enough, my wife asked me before I came.
My bad.
She was like, "God damn it! Did the mic pick that up?
Snuck that in there.
Does that? We talked about this beforehand. Do as much of your Borat impression as possible.
That's what
This doesn't come up that much.
That's
you know?
what the people want, honestly.
Wah wah wee wah.
Yeah, well, Moonblood. All right.
Anyway.
My lovely, darling wife asked me before I was going to come on today if I was going to tell the story about when I got too high after buying her engagement ring. We call it the licking the receipt, the licking the receipt episode. And so I'd gone to go purchase her engagement ring.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in secret, of course. I had lied to her and said I was going to band practice.
Sure.
So I took off, and it was just down the street, like where I was the jeweler. And I went there with my mom. You know, she helped me out. Just, you know, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Mom, help me buy this ring." We get done. She takes off. I go home, and I'm sitting in my truck, and I look over, and in the console is a broken oil pen, right? And this is, you know, probably five or so years ago. Technology's come a long way. This is when you had the re-screwable cartridges. Like, I don't know if those are still a thing.
Yeah.
The story at the end of it, the end result is me never smoking oil again.
Oh, no.
So, like, this cartridge had broken, and it leaked over a piece of receipt paper.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, I should throw this away.
Oh, no.
And I was like, well, but why would I don't want to waste the whole thing. And so without even thinking about it, I like reach over and I lick this oil, this concentrate soaked piece of paper, like a little goblin creature. I was like, just don't know why, what went through my mind. So I go inside and it completely leaves my brain. Like I forgot that I did it. And I go about my evening, like I make some dinner. My wife is watching a Charles Manson documentary.
As you do.
As one does. And I go and sit down on the couch beside her, and I was like, I'm going to go fire off an email for work. So
Yeah.
I go upstairs, I sit down on my computer, and all of a sudden it does one of these, like where like the room, like, yeah.
Yeah.
And the room just goes, it just stretches. And I'm like, oh, no. And I remember, I was like, oh man, I've fucked up real bad. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go downstairs. Different scenery sometimes, you know, can jog your brain, like loose. You're like, get back to reality. And so I go and sit down on the couch, and I was like this, and I'm sitting there just like kind of watching the TV, and all of a sudden, like I take my glasses off and like throw them on the table, and I just crawl forward onto the floor, and my wife is like, starts kind of freaking out. She's like, what is going on?
What's up? What's up?
What are you doing? What is going on? Are you having a stroke? What is happening? And I was like, I can't feel my head or like my neck. Like I can't. It was having a visceral reaction to the point where I was physically disassociating. And my wife is like freaking out, and she's like, "You were at band practice. What did you take?" And she knows that my one guitar player buddy is, does a lot of acid, and she's like, "What the fuck did he give you?" And I was like, "Nothing. I couldn't. Weed." And she's like, "I'm sorry, what?" She's like, "I was weed." She's like, "You're just fucking high." And I was like, not just high. I'm like, I'm not just high.
You don't understand.
I'm having a mental break right now. Truly cannot like communicate with you right now. And so she's like, she was a bad kid, so she's good at shepherding. Like she knows if you're having a bad trip, she can help you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, something's wrong. She's like, nothing's wrong. You're just high. And I was like, I don't know, man. Something's real bad, weird right now. And you remember that old YouTube clip from like the early 2000s of like the cop who ate a bunch of weed brownies, and then he and his wife, then he called the cops on himself?
Yeah, I sure do.
That was me. At that moment, I was like, maybe I need to do something. I can't like handle how high I am right now. And she's like, if you go to the fucking hospital, they will give you water, they will laugh at you, and then you'll be the guy from Weed Demon who got too high. and went to the hospital. I was like, you're right. I was like, okay. So I had to like write it out. All night, like, and I occasionally I'd like lay on the floor because it felt like I needed to be close to the earth, man. Like I've been smoking weed every day of my life for the last 15 years, and I've never had a moment like this. In the back of my mind, all I'm telling myself is, don't tell your wife you bought an engagement ring. But I kept thinking, I was like, what if you tell her? And like two dueling voices in my brain. I'm like, dude, don't do this. Don't fuck this up. Your wife, like, don't ruin this. And it was a humbling experience. I don't touch any other person's oil pen, not even mine. Oil's out of the game.
Yeah, man.
It's dry flower, edibles, beverages, but oil is just too treacherous.
That's a reasonable reaction.
Dude, concentrate is a dabs are the worst thing that's happened to
Dabs are a hell of a
weed in the
drug.
last month. You're
Dabs are a hell of a drug.
It's bad. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I've never done dabs, and I never will. But when I was in high school, my story, my crazy, not that crazy, but I was in the marching band.
Yeah.
And
What'd you play?
I stuck a bong in that.
I was on the drum line. I think that year I was playing snare.
Sick.
So I always like to get, a little bit high before we do the Friday night football games. And I'd normally just, sit out in the parking lot and smoke before I went into the band room. But this time I didn't have my smoking apparatus. So I had my bag of weed and nothing to smoke it with.
There is no one more creative than a stoner with a bag of weed and nothing to smoke it with.
Right. So I'm sitting there like, I could just like try to freebase it, like, which I didn't do, thank God. You're a teenager. You just like, I just light it.
If I hold this in my hand.
Right. I didn't do that. So I was like, all right, I could chew it like chewing tobacco. So I took a whole nug and just threw it in my mouth, started chewing. I was like, this sucks. So I just swallowed it and just went on about my day thinking like, I'm not going to get high. And
I'm not going to get high, I ate it. I didn't smoke it.
Right,
That's
exactly.
not how it works.
It's not how weed works.
The smartest kid in the block. And in the middle of the first song of our halftime routine, it kicked in. It's like full force, bam. And I was just like, what is going on? Like I'm doing all these like marching around with my feet, tap dancing kind of thing. And I was like, I don't know how to do this right now.
Trying to paradiddle.
Right, yeah. So that's like, 15 minutes of torture at this point.
15 minutes.
Well, it felt like an hour and a half, trust me.
Oh, yeah.
However long our halftime routine was. It was awful. And once I started like chilling out a little bit when we were just kind of standing there, I asked one of my friends, I was like, hey, can you get high from eating weed? And he looks at me like, yeah.
Yeah,
You sure can.
Like, oh, that explains this.
Yeah, bud.
I thought I was just like, who knows? Like
something was going on.
Yeah, so
that's the thing, man. Sometimes you forget, and you're like, something's wrong. Like I'm not like the world isn't right now.
Yeah.
And you forget, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, but an hour and a half ago, I ate this undisclosed amount of weed.
Yep.
And how we've come so far, but from the days of baking brownies and cookies and not knowing how high you're gonna get.
Yeah.
I love a good dosage label.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And easy to read one too, preferably.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
I don't need to know. I don't need to know all the details of where my weed was sourced. Just tell me how high I will get.
Yep. That's like,
Keep it at that.
give me at most I need like total milligrams in the package, number of pieces.
Right.
Any more math than that, I'm out.
Honestly,
Milligrams in a piece.
It's really
Yep.
confusing when they give you the full amount and you're like, oh, I don't. This is 600 milligrams per. Oh, it's 10 and there's 60. Okay, all right. There's 6 of these. Got it. Great. I wish
Yeah.
somebody would have told me that.
Right.
Like, yeah. Like, did I just die?
What have I done?
Oh wait, it's fine.
Yeah, there's never. I think there's, when you first start smoking weed, there's like that very first time that you get too high. And you're like, oh no, what have I done? And then you smoke weed for a while. And then you have that one time where you get so high, you're like, no one's ever died from weed, but I might be the first one. I
me.
might be the first one to die from weed right now.
I'm the guy.
Yeah, that's once you hit that moment, you're really there. You're really, really a weed guy.
You truly have. You've reached your final form.
That's Nirvana. Yeah, Nirvana for weed.
Nirvana turns out as a panic attack from getting too high.
Yeah, that's every time I've experienced it. That's how it's been.
That
for
is the
me,
most
so.
humanizing shared experience that we can all relate to, is having had that moment where you thought for just a second that you might never come out of this.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, tell me about Confest.
All right.
Let's enough about me. One more about you.
Okay. So this isn't necessarily about weed specifically, other than the fact that our name is Weed Demon. But this is just a little bit of Columbus music Confest lore. About five or 6 years ago, we had, submitted for Confest. They said, "Great,
Yeah.
a band called Weed Demon at Confest.
In.
Who would have thought? Sounds like a match made in heaven." And so we were all set to play the off-ramp stage, RIP. And about 2 weeks beforehand, we get a message from the organizers, the entertainment committee, and they're like, "Hey, we need to have a meeting real quick. If you could come down to Goodale Park and meet with us." And I get down there, and my buddy Ty from Unchipped is there, another great Columbus band. And I was like, "Hey man, do you know, why are we down here?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "I don't know. Some of the entertainment committee said they want to talk to us." And I was like, "Oh great, this is not. Yeah, with no context, come meet us down at the park. We need to talk." And I was like, "What the fuck?" And so we get in there, and they basically tell us, or Andy's with me too, and they tell us that all of the festivals are insured by a large corporate insurance company, and they get the right to review all artists performing at Confest. And apparently, at some point, some normie insurance adjuster dude who probably doesn't understand the genres of metal and that we're a part of, finds us online. And whatever research that they conduct, they determine that Weed Demon is a liability for crowd violence.
Uh-oh.
Right? Yeah. And if you know anything about our band or the genre in general, 9-minute stoner doom songs don't incite a lot of crowd violence.
Not a lot.
Not
no.
a whole lot of moshing going on. But anyways, they said that we want to craft a press release with you in conjunction together to say that you won't play the festival because if they don't have assault and battery coverage for the festival, which is the insurance company said they wouldn't offer that rider, and if they don't have that, the city of Columbus wouldn't give a liquor license. Without a liquor license, we all know there's no Confest.
Right.
And so we're like, well, this is very un-Confest of you.
Yeah.
Bowing to a corporate insurance company, but sure, we don't want to be the band that ruins Confest. So,
right. Yeah.
So we go ahead and we said, yeah, sure, we'll release this statement and not shit on Confest too much, and because really it's not
their
totally
fault.
their fault.
Yeah.
And so we did, and it went out, and of course, local media. In general, likes anything around Confest is like a good
controversy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's Confest.
Everybody wants to know what's up with Confest.
Sure, it's it's good, bad, or otherwise. It's just kind of a thing, and so it got picked up, randomly by like ABC6 and Fox of I don't know how.
Yeah.
And so I get a call and like, hey, this is ABC6. We want to send out a camera crew to interview you about your thoughts on getting kicked off Comfest. And I was like, oh man, this is even better.
Yeah.
What a treat. And so they send a dude with a camera, and then an intern to my house, and the three of me and Andy and Brian are there, and they sit there and interview us on our thoughts about getting kicked off Comfest.
Yeah.
And then they run the news segment on like the 5 o'clock news, and there's like this, there's this like 65-year-old, nerdy old white man in a suit and tie saying, Weed Demon.
Local band Weed Demon.
Local stoner band Weed Demon will not be performing at Comfest this year. And that to me was worth getting kicked off. It was fine, and we ended up subsequently playing a fundraiser at Used Kids Records to raise money for Girls Rock Columbus, I think.
Yep.
With Unshipped.
Yeah.
So get kicked off the community festival, do something actually good for the community, and then we never found out why we got kicked off.
Yeah.
Like, I think they found a video of us playing at this place called Skatopia on YouTube.
Oh, sure.
My buddy Josh and my other bandmate, who has a shout out Daily Grind Productions, bands that need audio and engineering work, hit him up. He had filmed a video of us playing at Skatopia, and it's like cars on fire and anarchy and chaos. But that's not from us.
Yeah, no, that's just
general
vibe.
Skatopia.
Yeah, Skatopia. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that I think they found that video and were like, oh, this band is very questionable.
Yeah.
But it all worked out. 5 years later, this past Comfest, my buddy Jason John, not Jason, what's his brother's name? Oh man, this is embarrassing. I can't remember.
Ooh.
Sam Johns. Sam Johns said, hey man, go ahead and apply. I think I've got you covered.
Sick.
They had switched insurance companies, and so we got to play Comfest this past year on the new Good Ale stage.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It all worked out in the end. Did something good for the community along the way.
Yeah, I never thought we'd get kicked off because people thought we were the violent band.
Yeah. That's really, what a misunderstanding of what
Right.
we're all doing here today.
I missed opportunity too. I wanted to get shirts that said the most dangerous band in Columbus.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. It's been
Thank you.
an absolute pleasure to interview the most dangerous band in Columbus.
Heard it here.
Real quick, if folks want to follow you guys, check you out, get more from you, where should they head?
All the social medias, Instagram, Weed Demon. I think Weed Demon at Weed Demon Sludge.
Cool.
WeedDemonSludge.org.
You guys have a .org website?
Yeah, dude.
Incredible.
I have a GoDaddy account from years ago, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not?
Why not?
It just takes you to our Bandcamp. It's
Yeah.
Spotify, Bandcamp, iTunes. There's only one Weed Demon. Well, there might be two. I don't know.
There's only one.
There's only one.
There's only one Weed
One
Demon.
Weed Demon.
There's only one Weed Demon, and it's these two dudes right here on the couch. So
Right.
Thank you guys again for hanging out. Thank you for hanging out with us here in the green room, and we will see you next time.